guys, it's Destiny, and today we're going to be going over Castorice in depth regarding her kit, team synergies, performance and endgame modes, how to build Castorice, and lastly, my thoughts on her strength and value. Before we begin today's video, for our question of the day, we're going to be doing just a silly one, and just let me know one of your favorite snacks. It could be any of them. Lastly, if you do enjoy videos like this, do make sure to subscribe, hit the like button to support the video, and now let's get straight into it. To begin, let's go over Castorice's kit. Castorice is an HP scaling damage dealer who is a Quantum Remembrance character who revolves around the HP changes of the team, specifically allies gaining or losing HP. We'll get into this shortly. When it comes to Castorice's basic attack, she'll deal quantum damage to one enemy based on her HP, but it is worth noting you won't really be using her basic attack at all, especially since her skill doesn't consume skill points. Castorice's skill Silence, Wrath Flies Caress will attack one enemy in adjacence and will consume 30% of all allies' current HP. And if Netherwing is now on the field, her skill will now become Boneclaw Doomdrake's Embrace instead. Her enhanced skill Boneclaw will consume 40% of all allies' HP, except for Netherwing, and Castorice as well as Netherwing will unleash a joint attack onto all enemies. When it comes to summoning Netherwing, there are two ways to do this. These two ways would be through Castorice's technique, as well as using her ultimate through taking advantage of the New Bud mechanic. Starting off with Castorice's ultimate, she doesn't use traditional energy like many of our other damage dealers, but instead uses New Bud as her form of energy, if you will. New Bud is gained through two ways: allies losing HP, and with Castorice's trace Contained Dark Tide, allies gaining HP as well. Castorice's talent goes over New Bud, which New Bud is based on all the characters' levels on the battlefield, and for each point of HP lost by allies, Castorice gains 1 point of New Bud. When New Bud reaches its maximum, which is 100%, Castorice's ultimate can be used, and when allies lose HP, Castorice and Netherwing's damage dealt will increase by 20%. This can stack up to 3 times and will last for 3 turns, which now results in a 60% damage increase through her talent. Additionally, when Netherwing is on the field, New Bud cannot be gained, but instead, now the HP lost by allies, except for of course Netherwing, will be converted to an equal amount of HP for Netherwing. Castorice's talent primarily mentions gaining New Bud through allies losing HP, but as mentioned through her trace Dark Tide, now you can gain New Bud from allies gaining HP as well. And the same would apply with allies gaining HP, now Netherwing will be able to gain HP as well. When Castorice does use her ultimate, she'll summon Netherwing and advance forward Netherwing by 100%. Her ultimate will also create a territory referred to as Lost Netherland, which decreases all enemies' ult-type resistance by 20%, which now allows a team to deal more damage onto enemies. And Netherwing will have an initial speed of 165 and a max HP set to 100% of the maximum New Bud. Netherwing can remain on the field for 3 turns, or if you decide to use up all of its HP, Netherwing can disappear sooner. Once Netherwing disappears from the field, the territory Lost Netherland will also be dispelled until you use Castorice's ultimate once again. Additionally, once that 3rd turn is up, or if Netherwing uses up all its HP prior to the 3rd turn, Netherwing's talent Wings Sweep the Ruins will kick in, and now Netherwing will deal 6 instances of damage, with every instance dealing quantum damage equal to 40% of Castorice's max HP to one random enemy target. Additionally, Netherwing will restore HP equal to 6% of Castorice's max HP plus 800 to all allies. And what's really cool about Wings Sweep the Ruins is that these 6 instances of damage are considered bounce attacks, which means if there was only one enemy on the field, that single enemy would receive all 6 instances of damage from this, which allows Castorice to also be able to deal powerful single target damage as well as AoE damage. And when it comes to Netherwing's attacks, Netherwing has 2 memosprite skills, one being Claw Splits the Veil, which will deal quantum damage equal to 40% of Castorice's HP to all enemies at level 6, and Netherwing's other memosprite skill being Breath Scorches the Shadow, which will consume 25% of Netherwing's max HP to deal quantum damage equal to 24% of Castorice's max HP to all enemies. Breath Scorches the Shadow can be activated repeatedly, with the damage multiplier increasing respectively to 28%, 34%, this damage multiplier boost will not be reduced before Netherwing disappears. And when Netherwing's current HP is equal to or lower than 25% of his max HP, then when you do use Breath Scorches the Shadow once again, it will reduce the HP to 0 and then trigger Netherwing's talent Wing Sweep the Reruns, which is those 6 instances of damage mentioned earlier. What I found pretty cool is that you essentially get to control how many times you activate Breath Scorches the Shadow until you run out of HP, which means you could go all out and only use some HP at times and keep Netherwing on the field longer as you please, or once again, you could just use all the HP immediately. Now, what I would personally recommend is before using up all of Netherwing's HP, I would recommend to ensure you have all the buffs active from your supports on Netherwing, to ensure you do the most damage possible onto enemies. And in some teams, if you have a bunch of healing to get new bud quickly, you can end up using all the HP on Netherwing immediately, and then being able to quickly resummon Netherwing from gaining a bunch of new bud, which now allows you to deal frequent massive damage onto enemies. Overall, I think it's pretty cool that you can play Castorice to your liking, and in my own showcases, I've definitely experimented a bunch with how much HP to use up, with Breath Scorches the Shadow, since sometimes I'll actually not use up all of the HP to keep the enemies alive a little longer, so that before we go into the next wave of enemies, I'm going to be able to gain more energy back for some of my other characters. So it's definitely fun to experiment with, and as mentioned, I would try to ensure you have all of your support's buffs active on Netherwing prior to using up all of its HP. As for Netherwing's memosprite talents, Netherwing's talent Roar Rumbles the Realm will increase all allies' damage dealt by 10% for 3 turns. And Netherwing's other talent, Moon Cocoon Shrouds the Form, allows Netherwing to act as a backup for allies, which means enemies cannot target Netherwing, and when allies take damage or consume HP, their current HP can be reduced to a minimum of 1, after which Netherwing will consume HP at 500% of the original value until Netherwing disappears. This talent essentially allows Netherwing to assist with keeping your allies on the field longer before being knocked out at the cost of Netherwing's HP. Now that we've gone over Netherwing in detail though, let's finish up Castorice's kit, which would be her technique, traces, and then of course her unique passive. Castorice's technique will allow you to summon Netherwing at the start of battle, which now allows it to advance its action forward by 100%, as well as create the territory Lost Netherland. Netherwing starts with its current HP equal to 50% of max Newbud, and after entering battle, all allies' current HP will be consumed by 40% aside from Netherwing. Additionally, after entering battle and before summoning Netherwing, Castorice gains Newbud equal to 30% of maximum Newbud as well. Castorice's technique is just a great way to immediately be able to take advantage of Netherwing at the very start of battle. As for Castorice's traces, we've gone over Contain Dark Tide already. The leftover traces would be Inverted Touch and Where the West Wind Dwells. As for Inverted Touch, when Castorice's current HP is greater or equal to 50% of her max HP, her speed increases by 40%. And then when Netherwing uses Breath Scorches the Shadow and deals fatal damage to all enemies on the field, or brings them to a point where they can't lose any more HP, Netherwing's speed will increase by 100% for 1 turn. Inverted Touch allows for Castorice as well as Netherwing to get pretty nice speed boosts within battle. And for those wondering, if you do use Poet of Morning Collapse, this trace will not affect that, as Poet of Morning Collapse accounts for Castorice's speed prior to battle. Basically this stat screen right here. So any speed buffs within battle won't negatively impact the set's effects. Regarding Where the West Wind Dwells, each time Netherwing uses Breath Scorches the Shadow, its damage dealt will increase by 30%, and this effect stacks up to 6 and lasts until the end of the turn. This is another self buff that is included in Castorice's kit for Netherwing, and very nice traces for furthering Castorice and Netherwing's potential. And then for Castorice's unique passive, when she is obtained or is on the team, she'll be able to prevent allies from being knocked out from a fatal blow as long as they are healed or receive a shield. Otherwise, they will be knocked out once again, and this can occur once per battle. Overall though, when it comes to her kit, she will heavily benefit from allies losing and gaining HP in order to summon Netherwing frequently, as well as also restore HP for Netherwing, and just being able to take advantage of the new bud mechanic overall. Now that we've gone over Castorice's kit in detail, let's go over team synergies. When it comes to Castorice team concepts, you can go with Hypercarry Castorice alongside 2 supports and a sustain of your choice, or dual DPS Castorice with 1 support and 1 sustain. When it comes to your sustain option, I do highly recommend having a healer on the team due to her new bud mechanic as well as draining the team's HP as much as she does. Remembrance Trailblazer is a very strong pair for Castorice, as Remembrance Trailblazer can provide Castorice mem support, which can now allow Castorice as well as Netherwing to take advantage of true damage, which can highly benefit their damage output. The true damage buff will apply to both. The 100% advance forward from Mem is also useful for attacking more frequently. Plus, assuming you have Gallagher or Luocha on the field and Besotted from Gallagher or Luocha's healing zone is active, Remembrance Trailblazer's ultimate as well as Mem attacking can contribute to gaining new bud for Castorice. Additionally, Remembrance Trailblazer is able to give Castorice more crit damage and crit rate, which can help further improve her crit ratios, as Castorice prioritizes crit rate, crit damage, and HP for stats. Tribbie is one of Castorice's best supports, as Castorice can fully take advantage of Tribbie's buffs, which is something to keep in mind when you are team building with Castorice. Since she scales off of HP, you want to look at supports that she can fully take advantage of when it comes to their buffing capabilities, as she won't really be able to take advantage of supports that give a bunch of attack since she doesn't scale off of attack, instead she scales off of HP. When it comes to Tribbie, her buffs will be able to fully benefit Castorice. Tribbie will be able to provide all allies ult-type res pen buffs with her skill, and her ultimate can create a zone which can make enemies receive increased damage from allies. And with how Tribbie's kit is set up, you can essentially have nearly or at 100% uptime throughout the entire battle with these buffs. And if you are using Luocha or Gallagher on the team and have Besotted or Luocha's healing zone active, Tribbie's follow-up attacks and overall attacking frequency is very useful to gain more new bud for Castorice. Tribbie is also an awesome support for Castorice for pure fiction, as Tribbie can assist quite a lot in that particular mode, and of course she's just very useful in other endgame modes as well, being that she is one of her best supports. Now when it comes to Sunday, you can definitely use Sunday alongside Castorice to provide her additional damage boost, crit rate, crit damage, action advance, and so on. But do keep in mind, when using Sunday, I have noticed that Sunday's ultimate buff will apply to Castorice and Netherwing. However, when Netherwing disappears and then reappears, you have to reapply Sunday's ultimate buff onto Netherwing, otherwise Netherwing will miss out on this buff. So it does require tuning with your team to try to ensure that Netherwing has Sunday's buffs active before, of course, using up all of Netherwing's HP. This doesn't make Sunday a bad option though for Castorice. I have showcased Castorice and Sunday and it's still able to get low cycle clears and perform very well. You'll just have to be aware of ensuring that Netherwing has decent or good uptime on the buff from Sunday's ultimate. And then of course the other buffs that Sunday provides are still very useful as well for being able to amp up Castorice's damage potential. And then as for budget-friendly options, you can use Pela for her AoE defense drops onto enemies, which will benefit Castorice's damage output, and similar to the examples I gave mentioning Luocha and Gallagher on the team, Pela being able to attack with her ultimate as well as her basic attack and skill allows her to assist with regaining new bud for Castorice. You can use Ruame alongside Castorice for her buffing capabilities for her and the team, as Ruame can provide all allies damage boost, speed boost, all type res pen buffs, and much more. Ruame can be a very nice option to use alongside Castorice when it comes to the additional damage amping she'll be able to provide for the team. Jiaocho can inflict vulnerabilities onto enemies, which can allow Castorice to deal more damage onto them, and so on. As for sustain options, two excellent options would be Gallagher and Luocha due to their frequent healing they can provide. Gallagher when allies attack enemies afflicted with Besotted, and Luocha with his healing zone, which both are very useful for being able to gain more new bud for Castorice. You can of course use other sustains as well, for example Luocha and some of the other healers, but I would highly recommend Gallagher and Luocha. As for a very budget-friendly team, it would be Castorice, Remembrance Trailblazer, Pela, Gallagher. If you do decide to get Ruame for free using the companion spirit we'll be getting very soon, then you can end up doing Castorice, Remembrance Trailblazer, Ruame, and Gallagher. This can also work as a budget-friendly team, if you will. As for a fun dual DPS team, you can use Castorice with Mighty or Blade alongside a support and healer. Mighty and Blade have frequent changes in their HP throughout battle, which can end up being a fun synergy alongside Castorice. Conveniently enough, as I mentioned with that budget-friendly team a little bit earlier, Castorice's banner will have the 4 stars Gallagher, Pela, and Lynx, which is an incredible banner as Castorice can nicely be paired up with Gallagher as well as Pela, and then Remembrance Trailblazer is free. Her banner is a very nice way to basically set you up with a budget-friendly Castorice team if you are lacking a lot of the characters she wants to be paired alongside. Gallagher will be one of her best sustain options, and Pela will be great for her debuffing capabilities to be a nice support for the team overall. Now when it comes to building Castorice, you'll want to use Poet of Morning Collapse as it'll heavily assist with granting her more crit rate, upwards to 32% additional crit rate. You can also consider Genius of Brilliant Stars though if you have good pieces for that set. As for planar sets, I recommend Bone Collection the most, and for an alternative, you can use Banana Amusement Park set. For main stats, you want to do crit damage body. You can do an HP body, but crit damage can be preferred due to her wanting high crit rate and crit damage. You would go HP boots, especially if you are using Poet, HP or Quantum Orb, and then lastly HP robe. For substats, you'll want HP, crit rate, and crit damage. For her Lycone options, you'll want her signature Lycone, Sweat Now Cry Less. You can use Reminiscence, believe that's how you pronounce that Lycone. And also, due to the lack of Remembrance Lycones, you can actually consider using different path Lycones for the high base HP they provide. For example, Time Waits for No One, Post-Op, and so on. Do keep in mind though, if you end up using Lycones like these for the HP base stat, you cannot take advantage of the Lycone's additional benefits due to them being a different path than the Remembrance path. That is something to definitely keep in mind. I do hope personally that we eventually get a free-to-play friendly or just like, I guess, event Lycone that we can end up using with her. That'll be very, very useful, since right now I would say the options are a bit more on the limited side of things. Now when it comes to Castorice's performance in endgame modes, I've been able to achieve pretty impressive results in each game mode. I was able to get 40,000 points in Pure Fiction using Tribbie, Castorice Remembrance Trailblazer, and Gallagher. In Memory of Chaos, Castorice is able to get very low cycle clears ranging from 0 to 2 cycles, depending on the team and optimization, and she's also able to have very nice performance in Apocalyptic Shadow as well. So when it comes to all 3 of our game modes, I would say her performance has been very good so far, and I didn't want to make this video very, very long, so I will likely upload a video just showing her off in every single game mode, but so far these have generally just been my results that I've been able to achieve. And these teams are basically just using 2 limited 5 stars, since Remembrance Trailblazer and Gallagher are such nice options to use with Castorice. So overall, I've been able to get away with just using Castorice as a limited character, and let's say I'm using Tribbie or I'm using Sunday or whatever it may be, I've been able to get these very nice results in the endgame modes we currently have. And I would say when it comes to her overall value, she's a very strong contender for a new damage dealer for your account if you are looking for one, and can be used with pretty budget-friendly options being Remembrance Trailblazer, Gallagher, Pela, May if you do end up getting her for free. I would love to know all of your thoughts on Castorice, if you guys will be pulling for her, or if you're considering skipping her. I would love to know just all of your thoughts, how you guys feel about her. I am pretty excited to see as well what Anaxa will end up bringing to the table, so I'm pretty excited to be able to test him out whenever that is available for me to do so. So do also stay tuned for those that are curious about Anaxa content. So not to worry about that, that will definitely be coming in the future. And overall, yeah, I had a lot of fun testing her, just giving my thoughts here and just making this review for you all. And lastly, if you did enjoy this video, do make sure to subscribe, leave a like to support the video, and I hope to see you all next time. Peace.